Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most legendary battles in history, the Battle of Red Cliffs. We all know the story, right? The massive fleet of the northern warlord Cao Cao gets utterly torched by the smaller allied forces of Sun Quan and Liu Bei. It's the ultimate underdog story, a real-life David versus Goliath. But what if I told you the popular version, the one where a single brilliant fire attack wins the day, is just a fraction of the real story? That's the myth we're going to bust today. The truth is far more complex and, frankly, way more interesting. So, how did a superpower armada, seemingly on the brink of unifying all of China, suffer such a catastrophic defeat? Let's find out. First, let's set the stage. It's the year 208 AD. Cao Cao is the undisputed master of northern China. He's just conquered Jing province, absorbing its formidable navy and a huge number of soldiers. With this momentum, he decides it's time to finish the job, sailing his massive fleet down the Yangtze River to crush the southern warlords, Sun Quan and Liu Bei. On paper, this should have been a cakewalk. Cao Cao's army numbered in the hundreds of thousands. Some say 800,000, though modern historians think 230,000 is more realistic. Still, it massively outnumbered the Allied forces, who could barely muster 50,000 troops. So, what went wrong for the big guy? The first enemy Cao Cao faced wasn't an army, but something much deadlier: disease. His troops were primarily from the north. They were not accustomed to the humid, swampy climate of the south. As they camped along the Yangtze, epidemics, likely smallpox or schistosomiasis, tore through their ranks. Imagine being a soldier, far from home, in an unfamiliar, hostile environment, watching your comrades fall ill and die before a single arrow is even fired. Morale would have been plummeting. This wasn't just a minor inconvenience. It was a debilitating crisis that significantly weakened his fighting force before the main engagement even began. Next, let's talk about logistics. Sun Tzu famously said, "The line between disorder and order lies in logistics." Cao Cao was operating hundreds of miles from his primary supply bases in the north. Transporting food, equipment, and reinforcements over such a vast distance was a nightmare. The southern terrain, with its rivers and lakes, made land-based supply lines unreliable. While he had a river fleet, it was stretched thin, trying to supply a massive army spread out along the riverbank. The Sun-Lu alliance, on the other hand, was fighting on home turf. Their supply lines were short, secure, and efficient. They knew the land, the waters, and where to get provisions. For them, it was a home game. For Cao Cao, it was the away game from hell. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, or rather, the fleet on the river. Cao Cao may have had a massive navy, but it was a navy in name only. A large portion of it was recently acquired from Jing province. These sailors and captains had no loyalty to him. Their morale was shaky at best. More importantly, Cao Cao's own men were northerners, cavalrymen, and infantry. They were masters of land warfare, but on the water? They were complete novices. Many of them suffered from terrible seasickness. This is a crucial point. To combat the rocking of the boats, Cao Cao made a fateful decision. He ordered his ships to be chained together, creating large, stable platforms. It seemed like a clever solution to the seasickness problem, but it would soon become his biggest liability. In contrast, the southern forces under Zhou Yu were masters of riverine warfare. They had grown up on these waters, their sailors were skilled, their ships were nimble, and their commanders understood the currents, the winds, and the tactics of naval combat inside and out. They were the special forces of the river, facing off against an army of landlubbers who were literally sick to their stomachs. The skill gap was not just a gap, it was a chasm. This brings us to the famous fire attack. It wasn't just a lucky shot in the dark. It was the calculated culmination of exploiting all of Cao Cao's weaknesses. The Allied commander, Zhou Yu, and his strategist, Pang Tong, in some accounts, saw the chained-up fleet for what it was: a giant floating tinderbox. They orchestrated a brilliant piece of deception. A general named Huang Gai pretended to defect to Cao Cao's side, sending a letter promising to bring his squadron of ships over. Cao Cao, perhaps overconfident or desperate for a win, bought it. As Huang Gai's defecting squadron approached, they weren't filled with soldiers, but with dry reeds, oil, and kindling. At the perfect moment, with the wind blowing directly towards Cao Cao's fleet, the sailors lit the fireships and escaped in smaller boats. The blazing vessels smashed into the chained-up armada. The result was pure chaos. Fire leaped from ship to ship, fueled by the wind. Because the ships were linked together, there was no escape. The fire attack was devastating, but it was the final blow, not the only one. It worked because Cao Cao's army was already weakened by disease, stretched by poor logistics, and crippled by their lack of naval skill. Finally, we can't ignore the power of diplomacy. The alliance between Sun Quan and Liu Bei was the bedrock of this victory. Alone, neither could have stood against Cao Cao. But together, they were a force to be reckoned with. This alliance was fragile, brokered by brilliant diplomats like Zhuge Liang and Lu Su. They managed to put aside their own rivalries and focus on the common existential threat. This unity of purpose gave them a strategic and psychological edge over Cao Cao's disparate, recently conquered forces. So, when we look back at the Battle of Red Cliffs, don't just think of the fire. Think of the sick soldiers in Cao Cao's camp. Think of the strained supply lines. Think of the seasick northerners chained together on the river, facing off against seasoned naval veterans. And think of the brilliant, fragile alliance that made the impossible possible. The fire attack was the glorious climax, but the victory was forged in strategy, desperation, and a deep understanding of the enemy's weaknesses. It's a timeless lesson that battles aren't just won by brute force, but by intelligence, preparation, and exploiting every single advantage you have. What an incredible story, right? It just goes to show that history is often much more nuanced than the legends we hear. If you found this deep dive interesting, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content where we bust historical myths. Let me know in the comments what other legendary events you'd like me to cover. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.